Hi, I'm Divya, Senior VP in the early stage team at HSBC Innovation Banking, and we're proud to be supporting Vocal on their 11th cohort.
And I'm Kofi, Vice President in our early stage ecosystem coverage team. We've seen Focal go from strength to strength over the last few years, working with some of the most innovative builders the ecosystem has to offer.
At HSBC Innovation Banking, we have the privilege of working with the most exceptional founders, starting from pre-seed right through to exit and beyond.
We pride ourselves on working with founders with truly global ambition. Our commitment to working with the next generation of builders is why we're excited to continue our partnership with Focal. We pride ourselves on providing wraparound support to founders with truly global ambition. Our commitment to working with the next generation of innovators is why we're excited to continue our partnership with Focal. We've seen many of our clients take part in Focal and attract top-class investment and achieve scale.
It's been great to see more and more investors join Vocal, with over 250 VCs and 500 angels ready to deploy in the next top startup. And with a record-breaking number of applicants, we truly believe the partnership between Vocal and HSBC Innovation Banking is the catalyst for something greater.
We're delighted to continue our partnership with Focal as they continue to demystify the fundraising process. To explore our banking services and products, please reach out to one of us today.
Hello and welcome to Focal W24. I'm Izzy James, I'm Chief of Staff at Focal, and it's great to see so many attendees here from all around the world to watch Focal's 10th cohort. If you've not seen a Focal demo day before, we're on a mission to find the best founders at pre-seed Series A and share them with great investors like yourselves. To do this, we've reviewed over 2,500 applicants, which we've then narrowed down to a top 100 before selecting the top 1% who'll be pitching today. Since last demo day, we've welcomed some very cool names to our VC partner list, including Seqouia, NEA, and Entree Capital. It's VC partners like these that help us to whittle down from that list of 2,000 applicants to the top 1% that you see today. I'll give you the rundown of events in a second, but before we do that, I'd love to introduce you to the newest recruit of Team Focal.
Hi, my name is Joel, and I'm really excited to be joining Focal as investment lead. I'm looking forward to meeting you all over the coming weeks, months, and years. Over the past 6 years, I've been fortunate enough to have worked across the full venture capital ecosystem. I started off my career at a multifamily office where we were investing into the venture capital asset class, both as an LP into funds and also directly into startups. After this, I joined one of their portfolio companies, NextGen Foods, as an early employee, where I worked both across their fundraising and growth functions of the business. Founded in 2021, we raised over $130 million and launched the business across Europe, the US, and Southeast Asia. Throughout this period, I also continued to make angel investments, which is where I came across Focal. I've been fortunate enough to watch the growth of Focal over the past few years. They built an amazing community and have added significant value to each one of their stakeholders. For startups, Focal has simplified the fundraising process, where founders are now able to present their businesses at scale to the world's leading investors. For VC funds, our demo days provide access to over 2,000 top quality companies all in one place. And for angel investors, the ability to co-invest alongside leading investors into some of the world's very best early stage companies. It's really exciting to see success stories already coming through from previous applicants such as Scan.com and Practica AI. And we're really excited for this demo day, which we will share more about now.
Now we want to talk about today's demo day, which will run as follows. We'll kick off with a panel from Focal's co-founders, Hector and Taus, who are sitting down with 3 leading VCs to discuss the venture gap between the US and Europe. We'll then move on to the first half of our pitches before a 5-minute break and then the remainder of the pitches. Once the pitches are over, the individual Q&A sessions with founders will go live on the gallery below. These 15-minute sessions are hosted by our VC partners.
VCs and angel investors can request direct introductions to the finalists on this page by selecting the companies they like and hitting the Request Intro button. This will take you to a short form, and once you've filled out your details, we'll instantly connect you to your chosen startup. We'll also be giving attendees the opportunity to invest through SPVs from as little as £1,000 once startups have a lead investor for their round. In order to see further details, register your info at gofocal.vc/SPV. This really is an opportunity to invest in the very best pre-seed to Series A startups as chosen by 250 top VCs. But do remember, as always, that your capital is at risk. And without further ado, I'll pass on to Hector and Taus as they discuss bridging the gap between Europe and the US, with Anne from Village Global, Vidu from Google Ventures, and George from Seqouia.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Focal W24 panel, where today we'll be discussing bridging the gap between the European and US startup ecosystems. And to help with that, we're joined by three leading VCs from some of Silicon Valley's top funds, based both here in the US, but also in Europe as well. So without further ado, I'd like to pass to each of our panelists today to give a quick intro to themselves. So I'll start with Anne.
So thanks, Taos. I'm a longtime founder turned investor and love backing founders at the very earliest stages. And I'm representing Village Global, which we started about 7 years ago to give founders at the very earliest stages a game-changing network. We lead rounds at pre-seed and seed, and we're more investor-driven than thesis-driven.
Just before we move on to the others, I want to say shout out to Anne. She's up at 3 a.m. On the West Coast to join this panel. So thank you for joining.
Thank you, Anne. I didn't realize Village Global was only 7 years old. It's a pretty amazing brand that you've built in that time.
Oh, that's nice of you to say.
And then moving on to George.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm George Robson. I'm a partner at a fund called Seqouia. For those of you may know, Sequoia's been around for a long time. Obviously started out of the States, but we've been investing across the globe, including previously chapters in across Israel, China, Southeast Asia. And more recently, so we opened an office in London about 4 years ago to find European founders earlier than ever. And we do everything from idea to IPO and beyond. I joined from Revolut, so I've been part of building companies here in Europe, seen the success you can achieve coming out of Europe, and the goal is to find the next generation.
Great, thank you, George. And then last but not least, Vidu.
Yeah, hi, so I'm Vidu. I'm a partner at GV. So GV, I guess the artist formerly known as Google Ventures. We're Alphabet's independent VC firm. So in essence, you can think of us in more ways than not like any other VC, but we have a sole LP in Alphabet. We invest across technology and life sciences, support the most ambitious, innovative founders in moving the world forward. And we've been in Europe, we're 15 years old as a firm, and we've been in Europe actually for 10 years. So we're sort of OGs in the European scene. And, in many ways, I think George summarized it well. Like we wanted to be here as early as possible to support incredible European founders in building global companies. And we've had an amazing time doing that over the last decade, and we hope to do it for many decades to come.
Thank you, everyone. No, it truly is an all-star panel. We're lucky to have you all. I love the intros as well. A fund called Sequoia. For those of you who don't know Sequoia, I'm sure everyone does.
Just keeping everyone on the same page.
Yeah, actually, I thought George was representing some sort of arboretum. That was actually my starting assumption.
No, really appreciate you all joining. And Vidu, you're based here in London, but you're a partner in one of the leading, best-known Silicon Valley funds, Google Ventures, GV. So I'm keen to get your thoughts on why an increasing number of funds are setting up shop over here in the UK.
Yeah, look, I think ultimately it comes down to the fact that the raw material in startups and in generational defining world changing companies is talent and amazing founders and amazing people to work on those ideas. And we felt it was quite obvious for quite a long period of time that there is an immense amount of talent over here in Europe. I think all of the sort of the fundamental substrate of amazing education, developed legal systems, stable societies, and just large volumes of technically minded people exist in Europe. And I think the ecosystem it's just in a slightly earlier phase than in the US. And so once you see sort of how the US ecosystem has developed in terms of you have an initial generation of successful companies, and that seeds all of the things that you need for the next generation, whether that's experienced founders, experienced executives, venture capital, angel investors, seed investors, like all of the things you need to build an ecosystem. We saw that initial wave of incredible founders and successes coming out of Europe. And we saw actually in many of the most successful US outcomes, if you think of the Stripes, GitLabs, many other examples, the founders were actually European. We thought that actually those companies may start in Europe and stay in Europe for longer, if not for their whole life cycle, and we wanted to be here to support that. And we're happy to see more and more competition from brilliant US VCs, because I think the great thing about venture capital is we are more collaborators than we are competitors as firms, and so it's not just us that have seen that trend and recognized it, but many others. And it's been awesome to see the ecosystem develop and see just the great number of founders and companies coming through there.
Does anyone want to add anything to that? Feel free to chip in and interrupt. Everyone loves an interactive panel.
Well, in one sense, I think today Silicon Valley is a mindset. It's not a place. And post-pandemic, that is for sure. And we see great companies and great founders all over the world, even at the same time. Sometimes start in person, sometimes started fully distributed, and it's a really exciting time.
Awesome.
Great. So the next question I want to ask is directed to George. You're in a similar position to Vidu in that you're representing a US fund in Europe as a Brit. What I'd be interested to know is, what are the common misconceptions from your peers at European funds about how US funds operate? So particularly the common refrain that I hear is, a US fund came in and just trumped us on valuation and we just couldn't compete. So is that a fair refrain, that US funds are a bit less price sensitive? And are there any other misconceptions that are worth talking about?
Yeah, I think there's a few pieces there. I think this actually holds for my wonderful peers on the call as well. I mean, we've set this up as one fund, one partnership, one fund family, right, across US and Europe. In practice, what that means is we're looking to make an investment, a high conviction investment, ideally as early as possible in companies and sectors that we care about. Whether that business comes out of Europe, as we increasingly hope it does, we observe it does, or out of the States. I think kind of misconceptions that follow from that. I mean, one, that US VCs are not excited about European success stories, right? That you can't build a generational company out of Europe. You can't build a generational company focused on Europe. If you look at the realities of the last few years, it's just not true. I mean, we've had an incredible run. If you go as far back as a company like Clea, founded in 2007, I think we invested in 2009. A company like Unity, 2012 onwards. 2016, you have companies like a UiPath, a Miro, a Revolut, businesses like this. But when we set up the office, we would speak to founders and they'd be curious about, are you excited about capturing the opportunity in France or taking Western Europe or doing the thing in the Nordics? But if you look at a lot of the investments we made, we're excited about, businesses like a Penny Lane, Zephyr, both in France, Trade Republic, taking retail broking across Europe. None of those companies have going to the US as priority one on their list because the market size is large enough here to be successful. I think point two, Europe is a wonderful place, as we know, because it's full of nuance, right? There's lots of different cultures. There's different regulations, there's different precedents for the way you need to think about acquiring customers, telling the story, different challenges like that. And that, having a presence on the ground, right? Many of us, working out of Europe, having spent huge amounts of time here, of not being from here, having built businesses here, the appreciation of that nuance and the time that I think US-based VCs are really willing to spend to understand it, I think is pretty high.
I'm just going to pin something onto that, which is, panels are much more fun when there's some disagreement, right? And so I'm going to chuck some loaded questions in, but a lot of people are skeptical about pre-seed and seed strategies from huge multi-stage funds, largely because, is it a significant check in the portfolio? Is it a significant enough amount of money to matter to the partner who leads a pre-seed deal of a couple of million when you're running a multi-billion fund? What would you say to those people?
Yeah, firstly, you should always try and understand, and you should also try and assess, and if you can through peers or looking at data online, like what is the strategy for this particular investor or investment fund you're speaking to? I mean, the way that we think about that is kind of twofold. We have a separate seed fund, right? That seed fund is $180 million across US and Europe. There are larger seed funds that focus just on Europe or even subsets of Europe than that. So if we're going to make $1 million investment in a company, it's pretty material. Like all of those investments need to move the needle for that pool of capital for our LPs to do the best work. I think that's piece one. And then piece two, getting a sense of how many investments those partners are making, right? Those individuals are making. Because yes, the fund matter, but obviously the person who's going to be your sponsor, your internal advocate, are critical to how you're going to be able to navigate the next few years. So just getting a sense of what is the investing cadence? And we're quite upfront that we make a relatively small number of investments. It's typically kind of 2 to 3 per partner per year. Again, as early as possible. If it's at the seed or pre-seed, fantastic. But we're doing it out of that relatively small pool of capital.
And Anne, what do you, or Vidu, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think the other thing to think about is, what happens to that seed investment? I think if you did the seed in Google or Apple or even later, some of the generational companies that we've seen over the last 10 years, it isn't massively material. I think so. Seed investing is an extremely rewarding, not just sort of in the emotional sense and the participation sense of getting involved very early, which is part of the reason we all do the job, venture capital. But just purely financially, the returns in seed, if you do it well and if you're in the right companies, are astonishing. So they are. I think the thing to bear in mind is seed companies can really move the needle even on quite sizable firms, if they become what they can be.
And what would you, I mean, you must see this all the time. You have a big portfolio. You must be helping these portfolio companies with their raises. What are you advising your portfolio companies today on this topic, and has that changed at all?
Yeah, and we're not a multi-stage fund, so we only do pre-seed and seed. And I would say, I think it really, the choice of your VC matters more than the choice of your fund. And are you getting in business with someone who can really support you? And at pre-seed and seed, it tends to be more product market fit related than later. As the saying goes, we fund the dream, later they fund the DCF, right? And the way we have a lot of investments, and the way we can have a lot of investments in our portfolio is that we have a scout program, and we have some partnerships with small VC fund managers, these small funds who are first call. And that gives us the opportunity to have selectivity in both selection and support after post-investment. And that's how we can have that scale, I guess, of selectivity and support and selection. And there is sometimes founders will hear about signaling risk, which we could talk about on the call, which is if you take a check from a multi-stage firm, will there be any consequences if that fund doesn't lead the follow-on round? And our advice is pick the best investor you can for the round. Be mindful of that, because it probably does exist, and maybe somebody on the call could talk to that. But as a founder, I got some great advice, and that is don't borrow a problem from tomorrow, because there's a lot of problems you got to deal with today. So get the very best investor you can for the round, and then go from there.
I think it was an interesting time a couple of years ago where pretty much whoever you were, whatever company you were raising for, could raise money. There was an investor for you somewhere in the world. And since the flight to quality, it's not really the case any longer. And I think the signaling risk during that time a couple of years ago did kind of disappear to a large extent. And I think that was at the point where lots of these multi-stage funds were moving earlier and having some success there. I wonder whether that is going to change back. We do hear in some founder circles that the advice is take money from a pre-seed fund or a seed fund if you're raising pre-seed or seed. So interested to hear all of your perspectives. Is that something you're having to now fight against as a multi-stage fund and persuade founders otherwise, or is it something you're happy to just go along with and you have your place to invest and others have theirs?
Yeah, look, I think and actually sort of summarized it well. I think there's a lot of second and third order problems that you can think of in either route, whether you choose a pre-seed or a seed fund or a multi-stage firm. But you're really trying to optimize for what's going to give the best chances of success today and over the near term, mid-term time horizon of taking the investment, i.e. the life cycle of that round. I think ultimately, if you get a good partner, with the support of a firm behind it, and the company executes well and does a good job over the life cycle of that fundraise and hits the milestones or exceeds the milestones that they want to with that, you'll be in a good place. And I think it really is ultimately that simple. You can overcomplicate it, you can think about it in different ways, but it does fundamentally just come down to what is the best setup for that company at that time for that round. And it might be, for some founders and companies, it might be a specialist pre-seed or seed firm. And for some, it might be a multi-stage firm, but it really just comes down to the mutual fit of the individual and the firm and that company.
I would kind of build on that. I think like the best way to have a smooth fundraise is to build a great business, right? I think that's the most important variable, and a lot of those factors are inside the building. There's always going to be macro considerations, right? Which are kind of the overlay is, what level of maturity do you need in your business? What scale of the P&L might you need to be able to raise, an equivalent dollar or euro amount for you to be able to be successful? But broadly, hiring great people, having customers who are obsessed with what you've built, and proving that you have a path from this act one to an act two that's going to be valuable is the core. I think sometimes signaling risk gets lost in the mix of that. That is the most important priority, and you need partners around you that are going to help you navigate to it, exactly as Vidu said. So I would really focus on putting the right team on the field, right, to maximize that probability.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating discussion. I think it depends what you're optimizing for. Are you optimizing for success, or are you optimizing for downside protection as a founder? And each of those probably deserves a different approach. But moving on slightly, Anne, the history of VC has been dominated really by these legendary venture funds, largely from the US, and many of which have been around since day one, and quite interestingly, haven't been disrupted yet. Unlike a lot of incumbents in other industries. You're a relative newcomer on the block. You've built a huge name for yourself and for Village. You've had a huge amount of success. What's been your secret to success since you founded Village?
Well, that's nice of you to say. I still feel like, we're proving it every day. And it reminds me of one of our LPs is Jeff Bezos from Amazon. And his theme is, it's always day one. And, our take is, I think it's an evolutionary thing it's not the biggest or the strongest that can survive always or thrive. It's the most adaptive, right? The most adaptive species. And especially in early stage investing, we have to be thinking constantly about dynamically being in the talent pools that matter and in the races worth winning. And by that, I mean the sectors and the segments worth winning. And our approach at Village to staying fresh and staying relevant is working with these first call angels and emerging managers, which helps us keep that pulse of what's going on. And the other challenge, I think, just like startups have, is sometimes as you grow, you can ossify versus organize, right? So you start like checking blocks and you have like big things that remove you from being close to the founders. And so we're trying to stay close to the founders in every way.
Just to extend that question a bit to George and Vidu, your funds have been investing for a bit longer than Village, and touched on iterating your approach and staying relevant. But how do you balance that with retaining the genesis of your funds and maintaining those learnings that you've built up over the past 10, 20 years plus, whilst changing things at the same time? Where's the right balance? How do you manage that internally?
So look, I'll jump in. So I think there's a fundamental North Star in that the ultimate goal is finding outlier groups of people support with outlier visions and giving them the support they need to build that vision of the future that they're so radically obsessed with. And really, with that as a guiding principle, everything else sort of almost becomes noise. Now, there's a lot of benefit to have had the length of time to have invested over multiple cycles, seen things go up and down, and understand how that's likely to play out when there's kind of a new technology disruption and all of the good stuff that just comes with time. But in reality, it's so the job and this is an endeavor is decision making under uncertainty with a really unclear, uncertain vision of the future. So what you're focused on is a lot of it is belief. It is sharing a belief with a founder that their version of the future, which doesn't exist today, can exist tomorrow. They and the team that they're building are the right people to do it, and giving them the capital and the support resources to be able to do that. At core, and others may disagree with this, but I think venture is a service business. It ultimately is capital plus service, and the main thing that we contribute, because to some extent, especially now in venture, money is somewhat of a commodity, but it's time and individual commitment, and you have at the very least a single person who is on your team who is will do everything they can to push you forward in the person that leads the investment. But in reality, you have multiple people, whether that's the platform teams, multiple people on the investment team, and so you're getting an army of people as well as a capital to push it forward. And I think really that as a guiding principle means that it makes it quite clear what to do regardless of what's happening in a more macro sense and what's changing around that North Star.
Yeah, I would build on that in maybe two ways. I think there's kind of inside the building and outside the building, right? The outside of the building is, exactly as Vidu said, you sort of serve a product to a customer. Those customers are these hyper ambitious founders. And you've got to adapt a little bit for what the market needs today, what your customer needs. I mean, we've made two big investments. I think one is just changing our structure. We're now an evergreen fund. The insight was we've been around for long enough that some of these companies that we were fortunate enough to be in business with have truly gone on to be generational, business like an NVIDIA, right? Something like that. And wouldn't it be great to continue to be a shareholder and partner in those companies long after they go public? And that's looking at, the thing you're well positioned to do as a fund, as a team, and kind of leaning into some of those strengths so we can hold these shares in perpetuity. And I think two is, the talent landscape has become even more competitive for founders. We've invested a lot in building talent infrastructure inside the business to the extent now that our talent team, I think, is bigger than our investor team. And that's something that, maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago would have been almost unimaginable, right? To have that kind of resource and that infrastructure in-house. But we've done it in response to what the customer wants. And I think inside the building, all of our roles is to try and spot these exceptional people. It's hard to do that if you haven't had the benefit of 35 years of investing experience. The best way to do it is just storytelling. So actually at Seqouia, we lean a lot on storytelling inside the building. We have effectively Friday story time where people tell, versions of a story about the individual, the people at the core of the business or the company, and the sort of evolutions of those two dimensions over time, just to give you a little bit more of a sense of what greatness looks like, when you haven't necessarily had the time to see it firsthand.
It's interesting to hear, how you're transferring knowledge from one generation of investors to the other. On the other hand, one of the things that strikes me about the more established Silicon Valley funds that have been investing for decades is that they mainly hire entrepreneurial people. Even though they're a fairly big organization for the industry, it's people who want to push the boundaries and not necessarily just fulfill an already established function. But as an external person, you never really see those internal processes and how new investors take that fresh approach, but also pick up the learnings from previous investments as well. So that's really interesting. One thing that I want to move on to, and it's probably been the buzz phrase of the European ecosystem for the past few years, is the path to profitability. I've heard it way too many times over the past 3 years or so. Where do your funds sit in the blitzscale versus path to profitability spectrum, and how do you think that compares to your European peers? And this is a question for the floor, so open to whoever goes first.
Well, I'll dive in. For us, and our chairman is Reid Hoffman, who wrote the book Blitzscaling, and but to us, it's just a good frame today, a better frame than a few years ago on growth, because it's okay to blitzscale when the prize is worth winning. And I think it's not about spending money to no end, or just spending money and lighting money on fire, but to what end? And I think that the real goal is to be instrumented in your business, so you can give reasons to believe that you're doing investment spending today in order to capture a market and customer relations or whatever for the future that are so vast. And I do think in the ZERP era, we lost a little bit, and it was growth at all costs, and growth without it was like blind faith that there would be ROI for that investment. So now we do want to back the most ambitious founders in the world. And we often say, if you don't have a plan, everything looks like progress. So make a plan that looks like you're on the path to building that giant business.
I would just build on that. I think that's a great point. I think something that I've sort of tried to appreciate a little bit more, and actually been delighted in hearing in conversations with founders around particularly kind of later stage fundraisers where there's more of a decision of how much to raise and obviously how to deploy it, is that different businesses and different industries sort of have different laws of gravity that apply to it, right? And that might be something to do with like the length of the sales cycle. It might be the amount of product surface area you need, obviously, to be able to like unlock these larger ACVs, whatever it is. And it's some function of like resources and time, right, to be able to really hit that level of escape velocity. And I think like having a sense of that as a founder is always useful, obviously, because the most important decisions are giving away equity percentage points in your company and bringing people on board. But it's also this idea of like you raise this amount of money to invest in ideally the highest ROI projects first. And some companies don't have an infinite ability to take on that capital and deploy it efficiently. So I think the market tells you, that you need to be focusing on your sort of growth relative to your burn, but actually really looking inside of the building and speaking to all of the different leaders you have inside the business to really make them build a budget and a forecast and stress testing that in terms of how efficiently can you deploy this incremental amount of money, I think is core. And I've also found that in some of those fundraising discussions, and I quite like this, you have founders coming to you and saying, hey, how much are we going to raise? Well, we can raise this much to do this, or slightly more to do that, right? And if you think about it, after an investment, when you go to a board meeting, that is exactly the conversation you have. People don't just say, here's the budget, here's how much we're going to spend. It ends up being more of a conversation and an iterative process and the like. And I think that in 2020, 2021, when I started in venture, not having a declarative number seemed like a weakness, right? Because you wanted to be the empowering CEO and founder of the company. I think today it's seen actually as much more pragmatic and much more of a conversation around the shape or the contours of that business.
Yeah, I think I think those are really interesting ways to look at it. I think another way to think about it would be, there are different phases of a company, and so one lens, and it really depends on what you're trying to do. Like for example, if you're building something that's very hardware linked, fundamental science linked, whether that's AI or biological sciences, the sort of proverbial J curve looks very, very different if you're building something with a consumer or an enterprise lens that's software led. And you can think about it in terms of unit profitability, like, at the start, each unit I serve, what does that look like in terms of the customer acquisition cost, the gross margin, like every single individual widget that I sell, whether that's a physical or a software based widget, can I serve that profitably? One slightly silly example would be 5 years ago, if I'd have said, I'm going to give you a person to follow you around everywhere you go, who knows everything about the world and is unbelievably intelligent, and they're just going to answer all your questions. That would have been an impossible business to do. And whereas today that's actually possible with quite a sort of positive gross margin with an AI assistant. Like you can literally walk around with that person in your pocket and it's very profitable potentially. And then the next phase of the company as it starts to grow is really the aggregate profitability. Like, okay, well, we can do this on a unit profitable basis, but what does it look like when it's really at scale, when the engine is really cranking? Like, how many people do we need to hire to run the business on a centralized level? How does it scale across geographies globally? And so that is one practical framework to think about it in terms of phases. Initially, can we serve each unit profitably? How profitably? What does that look like as it scales at a unit level? And then once you get comfortable with that, what does it look like when it scales at an aggregate level? Because that sort of implies how much you can really pile into kind of the centralized cost of the business.
Okay, that's great. That makes sense. Just an extension to some of the things that you were saying there. When you're looking at investing in a European company, are there any tangible characteristics or metrics that you're looking for? So, for example, do you need them to be on the cusp of being ready to launch into a big white space in the US, or are you looking for certain growth metrics, or are there any other boxes that you need to tick when you're looking at a European company?
Yeah, happy to jump. Honestly, it really is a sort of. It sounds almost a little bit repetitive and trite, but it's like, are these the best people in the world to work on this really interesting, exciting vision of the future that is novel, that we've not heard before, or we've not heard in this version before? And it does come down. It really does come down to that. And if you think about now the second order question is where are you more likely to find those things in Europe? So there's one lens of it where you look at it from first principles. I think Europe has an incredible pedigree in technical education. So the density of AI talent in particular is extremely high. If you look at the generation one of AI in DeepMind and all the universities that are based in the UK and outside all across Europe, in France in particular, Germany, to be honest, all the way across Europe, is very, very strong. But then there are also things that come out of left fields. We invested in Nothing, the consumer electronics business, which is based in Europe and London, and it's just we find Carl and his team to be just exceptionally talented, visionary, and bold in building a company that outside in you wouldn't necessarily say it has to be built in Europe, but they are here and they're building it, and it's and so there's two lenses. There's one, where are you most likely to find those, but then also, frankly, the brilliant nature of innovation is that it's open ended and unexpected things can come up as well. So it's just all centered around: are these the right people? Is this an exciting vision of the future?
That makes sense.
For any more?
That makes sense. And George, do you want to add anything to that?
I would just echo, I think it's a global marketplace, right? That means that you've got to compete for exceptional people to help you build the business. And, depending on the company, you might have a TAM that is more centered on Europe or more centered on the States or more distributed. And, when we think about that opportunity, we're looking to find these people that we think can command that market in the long term. So we want to see something in them at the earliest stages that indicate they can attract, hire, and retain these exceptional people to get them there. But I think the capital is available. I think the expertise is certainly distributed. I think the level of ambition has never been higher here in Europe, and it makes some of those decisions easier.
Let's start with Anne on this one. So, how do you think about underwriting your investment to entry point? And is it fair? A lot of my peers in Europe will often say US funds are less price sensitive and happy to come in at a more aggressive entry price. Is that a fair preconception, or do you think your approach is pretty comparable with your European peers?
Yeah, I can't speak to others. I mean, we're trying to operate across markets, and we're stage specific. So we are trying to always think about a fair offer, a market offer, right? And we're often leading first to commit. And the underwriting really is based on the size of the prize and how we're thinking about risk in terms of stage. And I don't know if it's a formula. And I think having been a founder, the thing I used to say is the only way the founder could really negotiate the valuation is have multiple term sheets. So run an effective process and give yourself options. So to think about not just price, but all the aspects of the round you're putting together.
Yeah, and I think Anne touched on something there in terms of these days the good news is there is a market for venture capital both in Europe and the US, such that there is a reference point to a capital market as to what your pricing should be, and I think that's really healthy. I mean, there's 2 or 3 different ways to think about valuation, but just broadly, sort of conventional investing valuation, looking at where the future will hold, what your exit price will be, discounting that back to where you're entering today and sort of understanding some sort of multiple. That doesn't necessarily apply in that way, in that pure play way to venture, in that we really don't know what the most amazing companies that we invest in can be in 5, 10, 15 or 20 years. And I think, if you were to look at some of the most iconic, biggest outcomes in venture, most exciting companies, I think that's true of all of those. And so really what we're optimizing for when we invest in a company is a function of shared ownership, and sort of how much capital that company needs, and making sure that our ownership in the company is reflective of the deep commitment we're going to have to that partnership, and to that company and helping push it forward. And the amount of capital the company is taking on is the right amount for the next stage of its development. It's not too little to hamstring development and growth, and it's not too much to overcapitalize a company and cause kind of difficulties down the line, loss of discipline and all the stuff that we saw, in sort of 2021, 2022. So really, it's not necessarily about setting a price based on expected return. It's more a function of capital into the right capital into the business, the right ownership. And the good news is there is a market now to reference whether that's a fair offer on both sides.
Okay. There's one more question that I'd really keen to get one of you to respond to. And earlier you talked about the Silicon Valley mindset. What I'd be interested to know is that mindset really permeating outside of Silicon Valley itself geographically? And do you think the gap is closing between, say, Europe and the US? Or do you think, even though Europe is obviously growing as a market, the US is actually, or the Silicon Valley is actually still accelerating faster? So do you think that gap is closing, or is it maintaining, or are we getting further and further behind Silicon Valley in Europe?
No, I think that there is now a global talent pool that shows up to work in the cloud as well as to their startup. And what I mean by that, it is amazing to me how many people are quoting on Twitter a piece of startup advice, and from every corner of the world. We could say founder mode or whatever it is, but we have a bit of a hive mind now. And the other thing which we're seeing, which is fascinating, is that founders are sharing ideas on business models, on architectures, on cloud providers, on use of research papers in AI, for example, at lightning speed. And it's the ecosystem is richer for the different perspectives. So we back some companies that don't have a legacy of knowing people who are funded by top venture funds. They bring a different mindset or a different educational system that brings a different mindset to how they're approaching development today. And so I think that there's less of a gap in that, say, mentally. I think companies can certainly be built from anywhere. That being said, I think there still remains in Silicon Valley this critical mass around some AI. But part of the reason all three of us exist is to bring whatever advantages we can from Silicon Valley to companies everywhere.
Absolutely. I think that's all we've got time for. That is, it's been an amazing panel, absolutely incredible panel. You guys have brought so much insight. We've covered a lot of topics. We've gone down some good rabbit holes, covered some controversial topics as well that I think are going to be helpful to founders listening to this. So Vidu and George, you've given the people what they want. And to our attendees, we hope you've enjoyed the discussion, and I'm sure it's given you all plenty to chew on. We're now going to get on with the pitches just after a short piece of housekeeping. So stay on this screen and the pitches will start rolling automatically any moment now, either in the chat window on the right or in the tiles beneath this screen. You will see a link to all the companies pitching and you can request intros to them there. Enjoy.
Remember the film Her? We've brought that concept to education, starting with language learning.
Hi, Clea. Can you give me a quick lesson?
Of course. Let's do a quick conversation exercise. Imagine you're at a restaurant and you want to order something. What would you say?
I want order steak, please.
Good try, Etienne. But to be correct, you should say, I want to order a steak.
Oh yes, sure. Sorry. I want to order a steak.
Excellent. Now ask how you want it cooked.
I want it cooked, not a lot.
Oh, you mean you want it rare, right?
Yes. I want my steak rare, please.
Of course you are French. Every French guy I know likes his meat rare.
That's so true. Well, thank you very much, Clea, for this quick lesson.
My pleasure. Keep practicing, and you'll be fluent in no time.
Great.
As Abraham Lincoln once said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. With Clea, we're doing just that, thanks to our exceptional team coming from leading companies, Meta, Disney, Microsoft, and Pixar. Join us now as we raise our second round of £5 million with SeedCamp and EduCapital as our lead investors.
Hi, I'm Juana Bragilet, the CEO and co-founder of Lumina, an AI-powered ERP for growing businesses. Now, small businesses waste a huge amount of time and money running their operations in spreadsheets, and as a result are unable to grow. This is because alternatives, like low-code solutions and traditional ERPs, are both expensive to implement and introduce rigidity, because of the fact that operators can no longer adapt them in line with their evolving needs. Luckily, generative AI promises a way out. Because large language models can write code, they can enable operators to build powerful functionality just by using plain English, therefore putting them back in control of their processes and systems. And this is exactly where Lumina comes in. As the world's first AI-native ERP, Lumina helps growing businesses achieve the scale of global enterprises. The way it works is in Lumina, operators can connect data from existing spreadsheets and systems without learning how to code, then ask questions in plain English, and then define business rules and automations, such as, hey Lumina, remind me 3 days before I need to pay a supplier. My co-founder Pascal and I are the best team to build this innovation. With our complementary skills in user experience and AI, we've built systems for some of the world's most complex supply chains. In fact, we're proud to say that our solution for an NHS trust was mentioned in the House of Lords as a potential way for relieving the operational burden on our healthcare system. We're targeting fast-growing small and mid-sized businesses with a B2B SaaS offering starting from £10,000 a year, which opens us up to a market of over £1 billion. And we're seeing fast traction in the market. Since our launch in July, we've already signed 2 design partners that are actively using the product every day and loving it, and we've got 12 other businesses in the pipeline. We're happy to say we're in the final stages of closing our pre-seed round of £450,000 and are now looking to connect with strategic advisors and partners to prepare for our next phase of growth. Thanks a lot for listening.
There are times in life where preserving the stories of our loved ones is essential. Capturing a grandparent's legacy, celebrating milestones, or honoring someone who has passed. However, our memories are scattered across multiple devices, albums, or simply lost to time, making it overwhelming to organize them. Willow uses AI to collect, structure, and preserve precious memories, enabling everyone to create lasting legacies.
We reduce the time, cost, and complexity it takes by 90%. As Willow's AI guides families through personalized questions designed by therapists, collecting testimonials and media, voice-enabled and easily accessible via WhatsApp. Willow then automatically structures this data into an e-memoir, including a biography, picture timeline, and a memory map. Every memoir is finally linked to a family tree, making Willow the first place to start and store your family's legacy.
We focus on the funeral home market. It's ripe for innovation and presents a €2.5 billion opportunity. We sell B2B2C to funeral homes, addressing two key needs: helping families organize tributes and ceremonies, and enabling funeral homes to offer emotional support, personalization, and boost revenue. We've partnered with leading funeral homes in France and Austria, reaching 160,000 families annually. Families pay €299 for our solution as a one-time fee, and funeral homes receive a 30% commission. Australia's Memories.net saw 80% adoption in their first year, confirming demand and willingness to pay.
With expertise in technology, strategy, and by now, the funeral industry, our team is supported by licensed therapists and industry experts who believe in our vision to revolutionize this archaic industry. We're raising €1 million for a 2-year run rate, with over 50% already committed by Fund F, Angel Invest, and other private investors. We welcome you to take part in empowering everyone to preserve their family stories.
Imagine a world where e-commerce jobs are transformed by an AI agentic framework. A developer logs into Adobe Commerce and sees the latest security patches already applied. What took days now takes minutes. A digital marketer on a Shopify store finds an Instagram post for her new winter collection ready to publish in under 5 minutes. Or a designer of a big commerce store optimizes 10,000 product images, making the site 40% faster in moments, not weeks. This is the power of AI agentic framework, turning tasks that took hours or days or weeks into moments. Hi, I am Sushant, CEO of Vortex IQ, and we are transforming e-commerce operations with our AI agentic framework. Our secret sauce is made of 4 ingredients. First is a specialized LLM core with platform-specific e-commerce knowledge. And second is a custom data engine for generating actionable insights. Third is our proprietary staging environment to safely test the changes. Mastering this workflow has been the key to our success, and we have deployed it at scale with over 140 enterprise customers, including industry leaders like NVIDIA, Krispy Kreme, and British Airways Avios. We are already proving our impact. And fourth is our AI agentic workflow for all job roles in e-commerce, which glues all of it together. Big Commerce has already signed up with us, giving us access to over 60,000 merchants and 6,000 enterprise clients. We are also expanding to Shopify, Adobe Commerce, and Salesforce Commerce Cloud. Our core founding team combines over 40 years of collective experience in e-commerce, having worked with over 500 plus brands. With deep industry knowledge, coupled with our proven track record in AI and automation technologies, uniquely positions us to revolutionize e-commerce optimization at scale. We are raising £5 million to scale our AI agentic framework. Our investors, Sio Valley Ventures and Techstars, are on board for this seed round. The future of e-commerce belongs to AI agents, and we are here to make it happen. Thank you. Please reach out for more information.
Everybody agrees tickets suck. They're a constant point of friction for the box office and the end user. I'm Greg and this is Alex, and we quit our jobs to fix this £300 billion industry.
So we founded Up, the future of ticket management and audience engagement. For box offices, tickets are a nightmare to manage. So we've built Copilot, the first virtual assistant that plugs into any box office system, automating ticket admin, saving time and money.
It's like having loads of Alexes working over in the box office. Theatres, festivals and sports teams partner with us to turn tickets from a point of friction to a point of engagement. Instead of sending a PDF or QR code whenever someone buys a ticket, we enable event organisers to send dynamic tickets powered by Up. This is the future.
Dynamic tickets have embedded content that increases engagement and revenue, with custom tiles enabling event organisers to organically cross-sell and upsell. Copilot means users can swap, send or refund tickets without ever contacting the box office. And whenever there are empty premium seats, users can buy discounted seat upgrades.
We're the first and only B2B2C platform to offer these features as a subscription.
We're fully integrated and partnered with Spectrix, the leading box office software provider in the UK. And we've already partnered with 2 theatres to help them reduce cost, improve engagement and increase revenue.
We're now raising 400k to expand our team and roll out across the country. Alex and I are friends from school with complementary skill sets from careers in finance, events and tech.
This is just the start. We've got some game-changing features in the pipeline too. AI-powered ticket syncing, so all your tickets are in one place, one wallet. Secure resales, experience discovery, and memories. A feature meaning you can relive all your favourite experiences.
This is the future of tickets and audience engagement, and you can be a part of it too.
Businesses waste valuable time extracting critical data from documents, which is not only time-consuming, but is also error-prone, which impacts decision-making and operational efficiency. Our solution automates the extraction of critical data from documents, delivering real-time, accurate data, which leads to savings and better decision-making. We've done this by fine-tuning open-source large language models on our proprietary dataset of over 100,000 records, delivering superior accuracy and cost-effective deployments compared to OpenAI or Anthropic. Our 2 main products are Vault and Scribe. Vault allows businesses to extract data from historical documents and answer questions about them, automating manual document data extraction workflows. And Scribe allows businesses to create documents which are structured from inception by embedding smart forms in their templates. We launched both Vault and Scribe in March this year, and we've seen huge traction with enterprises. Our revenue has been growing 50% month over month in the past 6 months, and we've signed over 3 large enterprise clients with a large pipeline of over £1.5 million, which we're looking to service over the next 6 months. We're currently fundraising $10 million to double down on product development and our team just to be able to service this pipeline, and we're also looking to expand in the US, where we have a lot of traction at the moment.
Hi all, really good to connect. My name is Dr. Deepak Orlak, and just like my co-founder, we're both dentists turned tech founders, digitalizing the whole dental experience. Before starting Tooth Fairy, we'd treat tens of thousands of patients, and all of them had told us about the 3 A's. Dentistry is not affordable, it's not accessible, and it's definitely not available. We're the UK's first health-regulated dental application, tested in the NHS, and we picked some really cool awards up along the way. We're Sifted's 100 fastest growing companies in the UK, and what we're trying to do is digitalise the experience similar to what's happening in women's health, elderly care, mental health, and actually even physiotherapy and digital GPs. We've taken dentistry from a really poor analogue experience to now a new 2.0 digital experience. We know there's a big demand, a 35 million appointment backlog due to COVID. We know over 6 million people every year experience dental pain lasting over 2 weeks. Through our app, you can speak to a dentist through our chat helpline or video calls, evenings and weekends, and use our really smart filters or the new AI technology we're building to really enhance that experience. We've got a direct-to-patient offering, but we also work with insurers and employers, over 1,000 different companies on board, as well as 20 to 25,000 employees. We're really excited about what we've built because through our app, you can speak to a dentist through a virtual exam, cosmetics, prescriptions, even onward clinic referrals. And we're really excited that we've built a profitable business just last quarter alone. Users absolutely love our platform, and through it, you'll see double-digit utilization, really good NPS scores, and if you have a look at that Trustpilot, over 1,000 excellent reviews on Trustpilot alone. We've got a really great team, and through a team of key individuals such as myself and Kian, who are leading the clinical aspect. We've got Noreen, who's leading the commercial aspect with 17 years in Bupa Dental Insurance, Maria, who's leading our regulatory charge, Pranav, who's helped build our own technology from day one, a part of the founding team, and Sen, who's leading our finance aspect. He's also head of finance at TikTok. The vision for us is to become the front door for dentistry and a marketplace for all dental treatments, whether it's your next clean, your cosmetics, your virtual exams, or real exams in clinic. And the really exciting aspect for us is there's now a trusted aspect of our platform. We'd love to work with you. Please do reach out for us, and happy to showcase you Tooth Fairy and some of the really exciting things we are doing in the dental space.
Hi, I'm Bianca, CEO and co-founder at SpaceDots, where we unlock the future of space commerce by solving its toughest data challenges. A century ago, aviation revolutionized global commerce and travel, growing into a multi-billion-dollar economy. Today, we are at the brink of a new revolution, the space economy, projected to hit $2 trillion by 2035. Now, imagine if I said that any time you board a plane, there is a 1 in 7 chance of a crash because pilots don't know the conditions they are flying into. This is what spacecraft face today. The lack of accurate space environmental data leads to up to 15% of failure rates, meaning multi-billion-dollar losses for mega constellations like Starlink. In 23 years of combined experience in the industry, my co-founder and I have delivered NASA Mars missions, telecommunications spacecraft for Airbus, and also grown startups' revenue by 97% in 1 year. And yet we face the same problem. SpaceDots is solving this big data gap with our miniaturized systems that provide real-time, mission-critical intelligence from space, helping planners reduce spacecraft design margins by up to 20% and failure rates by 10%. Whether that's around the Earth, on Mars, or beyond, our data powers safer, more efficient missions. Since we've closed 1.5 million last year, we have delivered our MVP, secured Airbus as our first paying customers, produced revenue of over 50K. And today, we are raising 3 million to increase our customer base and bring our products to the market. If you're ready to join our cosmic mission, please let's talk. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vlad. All of the products that pitched today were just crazy ideas at some point. The good news is that you no longer need a huge team to build those crazy ideas. You can generate a code base, you can generate marketing graphics, but the crucial missing piece in this futuristic 10-people billion-dollar company stack is product design. And that's where Banani comes in. Banani is AI-powered product design. It converts your text ideas into interactive UI design prototypes. You can view them, click any element on a screen, and it will generate the next design in the user flow, helping you visualize it. You can leave comments and see them come to life in your designs, requiring no design skills to understand how the product look and work. We launched at the beginning of the summer, and last month alone it was used by 2,000 users. Some users created hundreds of designs, and they range from small indie developers who don't have design budget to launch their first product, to employees in more established companies like Bolt and WordPress who don't have time to deal with design editors. With just 20 euros per month, we're tapping $26 billion market, and we're raising 1 million pre-seed with great angels from Canva and Pexels already on board. Me and my co-founder were building products since we were teenagers, ranging from AI trading bots to lately consumer apps that were downloaded hundreds of thousands times from the App Store and Google Play. We product obsessed, focused, and we want to change how products build. And in the future, build fully autonomous product designers that connects to your knowledge base and can cover that part of the product creation. Thanks for your time.
I'm Hero, CEO of Chested. I'm the founder, but I'm also a father. My own daughter was put in touch with an adult who exposed himself on a popular website she just discovered a few weeks before. And this is just one about the countless negative experiences that we have on the internet every day. With the rise of generative AI, there is currently a surge in harmful content such as hate speech, spam and scam, and deepfakes. But this is unsustainable. Companies like Google and Facebook spend billions on this program every year. But what about the other platforms? Marketplaces, online games, the education and review website, paid ads. We are unprepared for the increasing risks of regulatory giants. Chextech offers the GenAI native content moderation platform that automates the detection, the management, and the treatment of complex online harms, enabling platforms to reduce cost, increase safety, and ensure compliance. After years building a scalable modular real-time system, our technical team delivered a complete software utilizing text, image, video, and audio files in real time. This makes us the sales force for content moderation. We have secured major clients like Postpilot and Shein, reaching nearly $1 million of annual revenue. They are securing $2 million pre-Series A to accelerate product development and they expand our AI capabilities. Join us in creating a safer, more compliant, and more trustworthy internet.
Welcome to SalesForge, a business that we scaled from $0 to $3 million in ARR in about 15 months. My name is Frank Saunders, and I'm the CEO of SalesForge. With over a decade of experience in B2B sales, whether that's leading large sales teams or being an individual contributor, I always observed this one huge problem, and that's the SDR problem. So essentially, in a sales-led company, adding a bunch more reps was the only lever really to target attainment. And today, a single sales rep books less than 10 meetings. Scaling an SDR organization is like super difficult, and also there's underlying problems like email durability. So hence, we've built SalesForge. SalesForge essentially allows you to execute together with AI, agents, and humans all in a single software to help you maximize pipeline coverage, and doing all of that using big data lake behind the scenes and email infrastructure, whether that's MailForge or InfoForge, the two infrastructures that we provide right now. We are going quite aggressively in the market right now, scaling in the SMB segment and going with product-led growth and also naturally dogfooding our own software. But the way that we disrupt the incumbents is essentially leveraging a consumption-based pricing rather than seat-based pricing. The way that we're going to get to 100 million is using a software compound model, similar to companies like Rippling. We're essentially stacking software on top of each other. So we already have 4 softwares right now. We're looking to add another 4 softwares in the next 12 to 18 months. The market is humongous. We're going after $1 billion SAM. And when it comes to competitors, we have 2 sort of quadrants. Top left, we've got the agentic companies. Bottom right, we've got the companies that focus on email durability. But really the 2 axes that we're optimizing is towards autonomous sales execution and email durability. The team is stellar. Myself, with over a decade of experience in B2B sales, and together with my 2 co-founders that know each other for 2 decades, we feel like we're the top 1% to really tackle this problem. Right now, we're raising a $10 million round to help us accelerate and double our ecosystem and get us to $50 million bucks by the end of next year.
Hey, we're Science Machine. We are the AI data analyst for biology. We help biotech and pharma analyze all their complex biological data way faster by letting our AI analyze it for them. And we got to this by speaking with more than 100 scientists over the past 2-3 months and heard over and over again about the fact that data is becoming increasingly important, but increasingly complex in biomedical research. And the scientists themselves don't have the coding statistical skills to actually make sense of it. And what this leads to for pharma, biotech companies of the world, it's that very important information in this data is completely missed. And if this was to lead to new drugs being developed, it would be worth billions for them. And this is where we come in. We help them thoroughly analyze their data way faster, making sure no important information is missed in this data. In terms of how it works, we let our LLM build a tailored custom data analysis pipeline from structuring, analyzing, visualizing the results, and then we run the data through the pipeline and get the results to the scientists. Right now, there's two buckets of current solutions out there. On one hand, you have those simple tools that allow scientists to visualize the data, do some transformation, but you can't do an advanced data analysis on those tools like GraphPad. And then you have the tools for the bioinformaticians, the data scientists of the world that know how to code, but the scientists don't have those skills, and so they can't use those tools. And we sit in the middle by bringing those advanced capabilities to scientists by letting our AI do the heavy lifting. In terms of the numbers, we charge about $3,000 per user per year to start from. And that means we only need about 300 users to get to 1 million in ARR. In terms of the team, myself, I'm a second-time founder. Ben is a superstar when it comes to the technical side, and we're really passionate about putting science on autopilot. We're now about to close an initial $500,000 to bring the product to market, and we'd love to have you on board. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Ollie and I'm the co-founder and CEO of InnerWorks. We're a cybersecurity company based in London working on proof of humanity and identity. And what that means in practical terms is we've built software that very accurately detects whether a user is a human being or a bot, and secondly, whether they're the true account holder that's ever accessing a service or executing a transaction. We're a young company, but we've come a very long way. So we currently outcompete every major bot detection provider that we've been benchmarked against. That includes large publicly listed companies that have thousands of engineers and multi-billion-dollar market caps. We're revenue generating from major enterprise customers like Crypto.com, which is one of the largest digital assets platforms in the world. We have an enormous user acquisition pipeline, and this $1 million ARR sales pipeline has tripled since we even put this document together. We're backed by some of the most prominent investors in the space, in the fields of fintech and identity and digital assets. And now is an incredibly important time to be building in this space. So over 90% of traffic online is expected to be bots next year, and there simply aren't any effective tools in place to detect them and prevent this, over $100 billion a year that's being stolen from bot-related attacks. We built a tool that really works. It uses a combination of behavioral biometrics and JavaScripting challenges that is extremely resistant to Gen AI fraud, which is the most important and emerging threat online. As you know, we've opened up a strategic raise over the last few weeks that's originally intended to be a $2 million raise that now has over $4.5 million of interest. We have a London-based fund in place as a lead with over $1 billion under management, and we're getting new commitments on a daily basis. And we would love to meet more of the investors interested on Focal. Thank you so much.
Hey, I'm Mike, co-founder and CEO at Plot. From an early age, I've made iconoclastic decisions in opposition to the advice of the people closest to me. From quitting architecture school at the final hurdle, to saying goodbye to a team I loved and the offer of a chief of product role in order to start building something from the ground up. At each pivotal moment, nearly everyone around me tried to convince me not to take the risk. But I have a deep belief that real risk lies not in change, but in the aversion to it. The idea that we expect ourselves to live with a decision we make as we approach our 20s for the remainder of our lives is just outright nuts. Yet that's the way things end up working out for hundreds of millions of us. We embark on career paths as we transition into adulthood and then accept that decision as permanent, finding it difficult to pause and question if we ever really chose our lives. It's well reported that over 90% of us choose the wrong career path. This is an enormous waste, both personally and economically. One executive coach I spoke to goes as far as to call this a societal epidemic. Well, we're here to spread a different story, one that concludes with a generational shift in people's relationship with work, a future filled with more authentic, fluid, and ultimately productive careers more true to who each of us really are. Your journey with Plot begins way back at the beginning, with a friend. Through a combination of beautiful experience, conversational AI, and nostalgia-inducing generated video, we first reconnect you with who you are at your core. We structure your life into chapters and help you highlight the pivotal moments you can trace back as having the biggest impact on who you are today. To reconnect you with you and to give you the power to plot a course towards a better tomorrow. We're raising £1 million to give us enough fuel to get us through the friction of early growth. My co-founder Ted and I have over a decade of experience of scaling products from nothing. This is a chance to back two friends from the beginning, in a deeply emotional problem space, with a market opportunity equivalent to that of Slack. We aim to become the daily companion used by everyone serious about enjoying their work over their lifetime.
As a new mother, I quickly realized how difficult breastfeeding is. Turns out 3 in every 4 mothers have similar breastfeeding struggles. If you can't breastfeed, your only option is infant formula. However, there is a big problem with infant formula. It increases the risk of our babies developing some serious health conditions, and for premature babies, it can even be lethal. In this $50+ billion market, Hulk Bio is creating a new category of infant nutrition: cell-based human milk, when breastfeeding isn't possible and formula just isn't good enough. We are empowering parents with a healthier and more sustainable infant feeding option that is very similar to breast milk, but made only using your own cells. So this is how we do it. We take cells from any parent, convert them into stem cells, and then generate mammary epithelial cells from them. These same cells that make milk, breast milk, in the human body are able to do so in our bioreactors and at scale. Our stem cell technology sets us apart from our competitors by allowing us to rapidly scale, maintain consistency, and create tailored, personalized milk. A staggering 90% of our parent community are actively seeking an alternative to traditional formulas, and 88% are excited about the prospect of cell-based milk. I'm Christina, the founder of Hulk Bio, and apart from being a mother, I'm also a stem cell scientist with a PhD from the University of Oxford, uniquely positioned to lead such a venture. Recently, Andy has joined us as an expert in tissue engineering and biomaterials. Together, we bring over 20 years of combined experience across academia and industry, with leadership roles in innovation at 2 pioneering alternative protein companies, Roslyn Tech for me, Mirai Foods for him. So just imagine a world where every baby has the chance to thrive through the right nutrition. We're very excited about such future. If you are too, I invite you to connect with us. Thank you.
This year, $600 billion will be spent by startups, brands, agencies, and enterprises on customer acquisition. The workflow to spend it effectively is hopelessly broken. It requires 6 to 12 SaaS tools across a median of 9 channels, and either spending $400,000 a year just to start with the minimum viable team to manage it, or outsourcing it for a 10% management fee right off the bat. Struggling with opaque visibility, static reports, and limited controls, getting it wrong is setting money on fire. That's why we're building Communion, the first spend management platform specifically designed for growth teams. You can think of it kind of like the way Ramp built the Finance Plus software platform for B2B spend, but specifically designed for the unique needs of customer acquisition. One unified platform for all of your growth channels, spend controls across team and initiative, intelligent budget rebalancing to maximize return on spend, and AI-powered quantitative and qualitative insight reports. We're already processing more than $100 million a month in spend for more than 4,000 users like Universal Studios, Borderless Payments, and Doc Martens. We were also one of only 8 companies selected for an enterprise partnership with PwC that got us pilots with high-level decision makers from Farfetch, Publicis, Dior, New Look, and more. We're doing nearly $1 million in ARR and planning to quadruple that over the next year. Our team is perfectly positioned to capitalize on this rare opportunity with our background in front office finance trading roles at Goldman Sachs and various hedge funds, as well as having issued compliant card products before. We're also supported by angels and advisors like the founders of Segment, Stripe, and Monzo. We're backed by Y Combinator, Angel Invest Ventures, Altair, Excel, and other great investors. We'd love to have a chat if this sounds like it's up your alley.
Admin panels are essential parts of well-functioning tech organization. Business teams use them on a daily basis to perform operations like refund orders, update subscription plan, and review user information. However, the development and maintenance of these admin panels is a deeply inefficient process for tech teams. On average, a developer spends 1/3 of their time on admin panels, with 80% of that time dedicated to the front-end development. Basically, scale-ups of all sorts are spending $500,000 a year just to build and maintain UI used only by employees. The craziest part about all of this, all of the admin panels end up looking exactly the same. They have tables for lists of users, lists of orders, lists of transactions, and forms to perform operation on this data. Brix AI starts from this premise and gives the possibility to customize the only thing that's actually changing from admin panel to admin panel, the internal APIs of this company. Once developers have built their internal APIs, they can simply connect them to Brix AI, which instantly generate a tailored admin panel on top of them. And whenever developers update some part of their API, Brix AI retrieves those changes and automatically reflected on the front end of this admin panel, so that CTOs can finally regain 1/3 of their entire company's depth. Together with my co-founder and CTO, we have more than 8 years of experience building admin panels. And 3 weeks ago, we released a demo of our beta, from which we gathered the interest of more than 150 tech leaders. Currently, we are closing pilots with 5 of them, and the most interesting insight is the fact that they will be transitioning from our main competitor. And they see so much time saving related to Bricks AI that they are ready to allocate twice the budget for that. During the same time, we started fundraising with a target of 1.3 million. We collected the first offer from a lead investor a week after, and we are currently fine-tuning terms. At the same time, we are allocated the last part of our fundraising amount. So this is a little bit about Bricks AI. Cheers.
Marketing used to be relatively straightforward. You had 1 or 2 ways to reach your target customers. But if we fast forward to today, there's more ways than we can count. But when we zoom into this picture, what we really see is more and more necessary but arduous regulations. And these not only come in the form of general advertising guidelines, but platform-specific guidelines and industry-specific guidelines. And currently the only way organizations are able to deal with this is by manually reviewing each piece of content. Now the results of this are clear to see. Billions of ads are taken down each year and irreparable damage to reputation. In fact, the FCA has seen a 1,400% increase in ads being taken down year on year, and Google took down 5.5 billion ads last year. And on top of that, the SEC handed out $4.9 billion in fines. And it's for this reason that we built AdClear. AdClear is a centralized platform which ensures nothing leaves the organization which isn't compliant, and on top of that provides campaign management and an audit trail in case the regulators come knocking. And our first target market is consumer finance, and we're a highly scalable B2B SaaS product. And although we only incorporated March of this year, we've already signed the likes of Plum, Freetrade, and AudioStack, and with super robust pipeline. But we want to build on this momentum. We want to become the one-stop shop for everything marketing compliance globally. And we've got just the team to do it. I've led sales teams and expanded products into different territories at Euronext. Cam was the 4th hire at Arkit and led them all the way to IPO. And Joe's also a former founder with a background in the VC space. And we've got the wonderful board of advisors. And it's with this amazing team and amazing product that we've just closed our 500k pre-seed round, but we'd still love for you to join us on our mission. Thank you so much. We're at Clea AI and we're here to revolutionize marketing compliance.
Anathem automates police officer workflows through the use of AI. Officers spend about 40% of their time on admin. Our ambition is to bring that down to 0. For example, it takes an officer 60 minutes to write a statement. Anathem does it in 2 minutes. So rolling that out across the UK, it will save 40 million officer hours a year or 22,000 FTE. So this admin burden causes huge delays in the criminal justice system. But not only that, the high error rates that the officers currently have in their statements means that there are low conviction rates and high levels of victim withdrawal. It takes on average 10 months for a case to hit the county courts. With Anathem, we can halve that, improving outcomes for victims. But not only victims, but police as well are not happy with the status quo. They hate doing the clerical work and the administration, and the ones who have been using our system over the last few months have stated that it brings the joy of work back. So what do? We input multiple forms of documents, audio, photographs, etc., pass them through our system and then create predetermined outputs, either statements, MG11s, MG15s, risk assessments. We also identify whether or not the points to prove have been satisfied so that a conviction can be sought, as well as creating case files. We're optimized for high-stakes applications like the police. For example, our AI is not used to make decisions. It is there to support the officer. We have extensive provenance chains. We do not use police data to train our models. We work with officers to train our models instead. And we have our own bespoke hallucination detection system that make sure that anything that we create in terms of our outputs can be inferred back to the source documents with audit trails. And we have all the necessary cybersecurity credentials. Our initial trial results have been very, very promising within Hertfordshire in the domestic violence call centre, where we're saving 30 minutes of admin time per call. Not only that, there is an improvement in quality, an improvement focus on victim interaction, as well as an improved thoroughness of victim questioning. All of this leads to less duplication and rework. But this is only the start. Anathem will transform the whole criminal justice system end to end, reducing waste, improving quality, and improving outcomes. There is minimal competition in this space for Anathem. The closest is Microsoft Copilot, but that has none of the safeguards that Anathem has. We're expanding rapidly. We started in Hertfordshire. We have 2 more coming online in Norfolk and Suffolk. And we have a number of other police forces throughout the UK that are interested in moving forward. In addition, we have Jamaica and a US constabulary as well who are interested in taking Anathem forward. We're revenue generating. We have been awarded 125K's worth of grants in the last quarter from Innovate UK, and we have obtained 100K's worth of ARR in the form of 13,000 hours worth of service being purchased. This is due to the team that we've got, which has got decades of experience in these high-stakes applications. Many thanks for your time.
We are Gatling X, and we are building autonomous hackbots that hack code and steal money. We believe that cyber is the biggest trend over the next 10 years, caused by increasing geopolitical tensions and increased rate of code production. We are building autonomous hackbot agents that hack code leveraging modern LLM capabilities. Our first market is focused on crypto software security because crypto has the highest stakes per line of code compared to any other industry and is highly manual and henceforth highly easy to undercut while having high ARPU. Our unfair advantage is a proprietary software called GPU-VM, which is the fastest virtual machine implementation in the world by 100x through GPU parallelization, and the EVM facilitates around 90% of all financial transactions on all blockchains in the world. GPU-VM and the 100x execution enables self-improvement through reinforcement learning, much like AlphaGo. The market today in the crypto auditing space is highly manual with human auditors only, and hackbots enable to go from months to hours and 10x cheaper and over time much safer experiences for end developers. Here is the security landscape. Most competitors are just glorified human consulting firms with some early AI competitors. Here's our roadmap. The why now is primarily driven by recent breakthroughs in LLMs and regulatory and political tailwind by the current US election. Our vision is to become a general purpose software security defense company.
Hi, I'm Oksana, CEO and co-founder of SGrid. Supply chains are responsible for over 80% of environmental and social impact globally. Yet, most businesses do nothing to change that. Why is it so? Because the process is broken. Medium-sized enterprises spend months on the manually issue data collection, analysis, supplier engagement, and still get poor results. To solve that, we are building SGrid, an AI-powered supply chain sustainability platform that automates the entire process, reduces costs by 10 times, and significantly improves results. Since launching in December, we have grown our customer base by 6 times, revenue by 8 times, and we are proud to name several publicly listed companies as our customers and see very high satisfaction rates from suppliers. There are 3 key factors to our success. First, we have a highly experienced team who knows the pain of sustainability managers firsthand, and we have built, scaled, and sold tech startups before. Second, our business model relies on network effect, where customers bring hundreds of suppliers to our platform and 14% of those convert to paying customers. Third, the market is early but rapidly growing, with 9 out of 10 mid-caps still doing nothing or using Excel. In the next 2 years, 200,000 companies in the European Union alone will be required to manage supply chain sustainability by law or business partners, and they will be looking for a digital solution. We will outperform competitors by providing the end-to-end process with the best supplier user experience and affordable pricing for mid-caps. We are opening a seed round to become a top 3 supply chain software provider in the Central Eastern Europe in upcoming 2 years with a proven go-to-market strategy. And I invite you to join us.
Hi everyone, Charlie here, and I'm introducing Cold. Cold is a productivity layer that sits on top of your entire work stack. Our goal is to save you 2 to 4 hours a day and completely eliminate busy work, repetitive tasks, and context switching forever. Here's our main product, the task feed. In this instance, I've got Gmail, LinkedIn, HubSpot, Rewatch, Zoom, and many more. The feed then pulls insights in from all of these integrations and starts to prioritize tasks throughout my day. Here you can see that I had a call yesterday with Maddie, and I invited my Rewatch instance into Zoom to record it, annotate it, and now we have a 1-minute highlight video and some key insights into what I need to do. So I need to get a deck ready, a 7-day free trial, and it looks like that Maddie was impressed, so some sentiment analysis is going on here. I could snooze this and tell the system I'm not interested in doing this right now at this time of day, or I could dig in using the focus mode and get some context from my CRM and some third-party data vendors to see if there's anything that I could pull into the conversation. I'm going to reply now, and I've already met Maddie, so the system's going to write a warm email linking together the action items that she'd mentioned. So attaching the client deck here, a 7-day free trial is ready and waiting for you whenever you're ready, and it's also prompting me that Maddie had a promotion recently, so the system will write a nicety at the end of the email about that if I so wish. I'm going to send that over, and that's done. This could take 8 to 15 minutes to do thoroughly, pulling information from your notes, your CRM, your email, Zoom meeting, and now this takes less than 10 seconds. The feed is packed with tasks that can be executed at precision and speed with full context. Part of our promise to remove all context switching, we have handy tools like this Leads tab that's all your contacts from Gmail, Google Cal, LinkedIn, and beyond. I can go check this person out, and it will be enriched automatically by our vendor partners. It'll also give me multimodal history of all the contacts and contexts we've had. I could even email Mike with key insights being pulled in for me. It's written, it's ready to go. I could edit it if I wanted to, but that's done. Simple. Other ideas around context switching being reduced is a unified inbox for all of your integrations, where you can easily navigate between conversations, as well as files that have been key attachments in your emails before that can be reused again. Thank you for listening, and that's Cold.
Hi, I'm Jacob. I am one of the co-founders of Midio. We are a Norwegian software company based out of Oslo. We were founded out of a digital agency after having worked with a whole range of different clients delivering digital projects. We started searching for tooling that could allow us as developers and builders to move faster while at the same time retaining the flexibility that we were used to from regular programming. We didn't find a tool like that on the market after having tried multiple low-code tools, and we went out to build our own. And that is what Midio is. Midio is a high-level tool with the flexibility of a programming language. Move fast, but retain the flexibility that you need. There's a whole bunch of really cool functionality that we offer our users, and it starts with Midio being a node-based language that is very flexible, allowing users to create their own functions and their own functionality if we haven't already rolled it out in the product. We also offer flexible hosting, so you can pick your own cloud provider and or opt in for on-prem hosting if that's what you want. We also offer real-time collaboration, so fostering collaboration between teams and within teams, allowing developers to work together or inviting business users to verify logic or participate in the process. We also give developers a bunch of new powers that they don't have with traditional programming languages. Examples include advanced debugging functionality, allowing developers to, with greater ease, debug their code in a visual and very fast way. We're offering a whole host of out-of-the-box functionality, including integrations with third-party solutions and also integrations with LLM providers. A lot of our customers right now are exploring using Medio to build AI agents or LLM-powered applications alongside automation workflows and also custom integrations. We're three founders, Anders, Christian, and myself. Anders and Christian are technologists and developers at heart, and I have a background in finance and software go-to-market. We're targeting a seed round of $3 million, and we're backed by existing investors here in Norway and also in the UK, Sondo Capital, Tiny VC, and 10 plus technical founders. We're excited to talk to you and tell you more about Medio. Thank you.
Cities and logistics operators cannot decarbonise the last mile model that moves more than 3 million vans in and out of our cities every single day. To simultaneously decarbonise and meet growing demand, operators are trying to shift their fulfilment closer to their customers in cities so they can unlock radically better use of micromobility and electric vans. 20 to 30% of deliveries in cities can be made using micromobility. This creates an amazing 90% reduction in emissions and up to 50% reduction in last mile costs. Operators understand the power and the necessity of this, but now they're looking for the technology to scale. I'm Patrick, CEO and co-founder of Minimal. We're a small, world-class team that's launched automotive, defense, logistics, and consumer tech from the ground up. Now we're moving fast to decarbonize urban transport. We're giving operators simple access to the most efficient and sustainable blend of vehicles and infrastructure in any city. We connect operators with a network of fulfillment locations close to their customers in cities so that they can easily scale our micromobility vehicles and any electric vans. Our telemetry stack, data analytics and fleet platforms are specifically designed to launch multimodal operations, blending micromobility and vans. We're building an open ecosystem so operators can seamlessly integrate any or all of our technologies with their existing fleet management platforms and vehicles. We've raised £1.5 million with some amazing angels and founders, and in just over 12 months, built and validated with leading operators a software-defined vehicle platform and a tech stack that can unlock their scale. We've proven that we can deliver this at industry-leading unit economics and capital efficiency. We have an automotive manufacturing partnership ready to go to produce our vehicles, and the first joint venture agreed to bring microhubs to UK cities next year. Now we're raising £3 million to start production and launch our ecosystem with customers in the UK and the EU next year. Join us as we redefine urban logistics.
That's the end of the pitches. Thank you to the founders who've done an incredible job of putting all their pitches together. We're so excited to see how you get on after Demo Day. For VCs and larger ticket investors, you can request introductions to any startups that you like the look of through this very page. Choose the companies that you'd like to connect with by ticking the check boxes on their profiles. Then hit the request intro button, where we'll ask you to fill out a couple of your details and then connect you with the startups once they've approved your request. Otherwise, we'll be inviting you to invest alongside us in these startups from as little as 1k once they have a lead investor in place. Please do remember that your capital could be at risk, and in order to qualify yourselves to hear about this, please visit gofocal.vc/SPV. That's all from us for now, so thank you so much to all of our finalists, everyone who applied for Focal and everyone who's watching now, and to our amazing sponsors, HSBC Innovation Banking, Google Cloud, Clea, Carter, Novabook, Making Moves, and Zero. And to our partner VCs, all of you together make Focal possible.
We have lots of cool stuff planned for the rest of the year, so keep your eyes peeled and we will see you at our next Demo Day in May.